Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I am your innkeeper, Vase Odin, and today we'll be reviewing the Midnight Masks. The Midnight Masks is the second scenario of the core set for Arkham Horror the card game. After the terrible events that developed at the lead investigator's home, the investigators have decided to investigate a little further into the city of Arkham, as they are shocked to discover that there are cultists hidden amongst some of the more upstanding citizens of Arkham. As the investigators wander the city, uncovering clues as to who the cultists are, they are to meet up with the cultists and try to interrogate them or defeat them in order to get more information out of them, one way or another. The investigators are determined to find out what the ghoul cult is all about and what their plot is in the city of Arkham. The problem is, they only have until midnight, so time is of the essence. But when a masked lunatic begins hunting down the investigators, things become even more dire. Universally hailed as a top scenario by the community online, the various mechanics work together perfectly to tell the story. The large map gives you freedom to explore, and the time constraint adds a very agitating push to move fast, and it really adds tension in an already tense scenario. The cultists you have to interrogate each have an interesting flavor and alternate way of being defeated that forced me to think outside the box and form a strategic plan. The challenge is high on this one, but not in the typical way where you can be defeated by damage or horror. That rarely happens to me in this scenario. Instead, it's a time challenge, and whenever I resign at the final round, there's always a celebration for what I was able to accomplish. This was exponentially more prevalent the one time I was able to interview all 6 cultists. Very little is better than the feeling of accomplishment when you're able to interview them all. Also, in my first playthrough, when the masked hunter comes out, it really ramps up the tension and gets your adrenaline going. It's really an awesome scene, and I think everyone really enjoys that part as well. So some bad points on the first playthrough, and this applies to every playthrough for completionists. It can be frustrating to face the inevitability of finishing the scenario without being able to interview all of the cultists. It also doesn't do too much to propel the story forward. Sure, the premise is to interview suspected cultists to learn more about what's going on, but other than mechanical effects, you don't really learn more. This is done much better in the excellent Carcosa scenario, The Last King, where you actually learn more story elements from each interviewed cultist. Some may not mind this, and if you prefer less reading, then this might be the superior approach. But for me, it did feel like it lacked a bit more in terms of story development. So I know last review video I gave tentacles, but this time I'm changing it up, and this is going to be the rating system moving forward. It's going to be mental trauma for story, mental trauma for mechanics, 1 being bad and 5 being good. With that out of the way, I give this scenario 3 mental trauma for story. Again, it does propel the story forward, and the mechanics work great to tell the story, but there just isn't much story in this one. It's a middle scenario on a very short campaign. There really isn't a lot of development in terms of role-playing or anything like that. And in terms of mechanics, I give this one 5 mental trauma. The difficulty is perfect, and the mechanics and the big map make for a very, very fun run through every single time that I play it. I never get bored with this one, and even though I gave it 3 mental trauma for story, I still enjoy playing this one repeatedly, and it is one of my top 10 scenarios for sure. And that does it for my review of the Midnight Masks. If you like this video, please hit the like button or consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to y'all real soon.